Welcome to the video on slope. In this video, we will talk about what is a slope, what are different types of slope, and how do we find a slope, and also what can we do with the slope. Okay. So first thing, there are four types of slopes. They're either positive, or they're negative, or they're zero, or they're undefined. Okay. So the name comes from one, the shape of it, so the visual of it, and then also come from the numerical value. Right? So let's first see what the positive slope looks like. So if I have a coordinate plane like that, then if I have a slope that goes like that is an example of a positive slope. And why do we say it's a positive? Because if we say that we're standing at one point, let's say I'm standing here, and then if I look to my right, then this line goes upward, right? So imagine you're walking to the right and you have to go up the hill. So therefore, the slope is positive. Okay, uphill means positive. On the other hand, if I'm going down like that, still standing here, I have to go down. Down means negative. So this is an example of where the slope is negative. The next one is more obvious. If I have a line like that, and if I'm standing here, well, we're going nowhere, or we're going up or down. There's no up or down. So therefore, the slope is zero in this case. Okay. So when you see a prairie, when you see a flat surface, it means that we're going at a zero slope. Okay. Another way to think about it is that when we have a horizontal line, the slope is zero. Lastly, the undefined slope is where we have a vertical line. So imagine we're standing here, but as you can see, it doesn't really make sense, right? That you're standing on top of a wall, but there's no end to a wall. So this is an example of an undefined slope. So another way to say it is that we have a vertical line of a slope. Okay. So these are the four types of slopes, and as you can see, the naming comes from the visualization. But what exactly? Why do we exactly have to use the word positive or negative or zero and undefined? And it's because they also have a numerical value to it. And how do we find the numerical value? We use this thing called slope formula. The slope formula has three types. First, the rise over run. Two, the delta y over delta x. And three, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So first, the rise over run. Rise is my vertical movement, right? So imagine you're in an elevator, you rise 3 floors, or you rise by -2 floors. So even if I'm saying negative movement, I still say rise. I don't say descent. Okay? And the run is my horizontal movement. So imagine you're running down the 100 meters, 100 meters yard, 100 meters sprint, and you're running horizontally. Okay? So I can figure out how much did I rise by and how much did I run by, and then we can calculate the slope. And one way to do that, we can use this thing called the triangularization. So I can draw a slope like that, and then we can find the triangle like that. And what is my value? How much did I rise by? That's my rise. And then what is my run? Well, my base of the triangle is my run. So we can find the rise and we can find the run, and we divide it, and we get this number, slope. The second one, the delta y and delta x, this triangle thing, it's a Greek letter that reads delta. And in math, it means change in. So in other words, I can read the second slope formula as change in y over change in x. Okay, so, and they all mean the same thing. Rise is my vertical movement, so that's change in y. And the run is my horizontal movement, so it's change in x. Okay. Last one is using the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I mean by y2 is I can read it as y value of the second point. And similarly, I can read all of this. So if I read it more colloquially, I can read it as y value of the second point minus y value of the first point over x value of the second point minus x value of the first point. Okay, so how do we do here? Well, let's say I have a slope like that, and then let's say I label these 2 points. And let's say I read this one as, let's see, that looks like 3 and 2. I'm just randomly guessing. And let's say this one looks like -2 and -1. Okay, sure. And then now what I need to do is I need to label which point is which. I'm going to say this is my first point, and this is my second point. Now, just to foreshadow, choosing the left point as the first one, the right point as the second one, it does not matter. So I can switch. So I can choose my first one as I can choose the left one as my second one. I can choose the right one as my first. After I choose it, I can label them with the x1, y1, and x2, y2. So my first point, my x value of the first point is -2, and the y value of my first one is -1. My x value of the second point is 3, and my y value of the second point is 2. Now I label them. Only thing that I have to do is plug it into the formula. Well, I know that y2 was 2 minus y1, which is -1, over x2 was 3 minus x1 was -2. So we can do that. 2 minus -1 is +3 over 3 minus -2 was +5. So that's the slope that I have. Okay. So notice that all these 3 methods, they all mean the same thing basically. Rise is the delta y, which is the y2 minus y1. Run is the delta x, which is x2 minus x1. Okay. And so to go back to why the 4 types of slopes are called that, well, you can see that this slope gave me the slope of 3/5. That's a number that I get from a slope. And 3/5 is a positive number. Positive slope is positive number. And similarly, if I do my negative slope, I can show the example here. Let's say I choose these 2 points, which is, let's say, -1 and 2. And this is, let's say, 3 and -1. Okay, and then if I use a slope formula, this one is my first one and this one is the second one, -1 minus 2 over 3 minus -1. And that should be -3 over 4. And you can see that it is a negative slope. Negative number means negative slope. Okay. And similarly, 0. Let's say I choose this point and this point. And this was going to be like 0 and 2. And this is going to be 5 and 2. And I can do the same thing. 2 minus 2 over 5 minus 0. My bad. 2 minus 2 over, the 5 minus 0, that's right. So 0 over 5. It is a 0 slope. 0 number, so thus a 0 slope. Lastly, the undefined slope. Let's say I use this point and this point, where this is, let's say, 3 and 0, and this is, let's say, 3 and -2. Okay. And then I can use my slope formula again. -2 minus 0 over 3 minus 3, which is -2 over 0. Oh, well, we can't do this, right? Remember, from earlier in our lifetime, we've learned that dividing by 0 is impossible. Why? Because it's undefined. Undefined number means undefined slope. Right? Hopefully this makes sense too. So now, lastly, so what do we do this for? Why do we learn about the slope? We learn about the slope because the slope tells us about this important concept called rate of change. So what is rate of change? Well, rate of change could be anything, because everything changes. And then our natural question is, if everything's changing, how fast are they changing? That's our question. And the slope tells us exactly that. Okay, let's say we have a slope of, this line like that. Okay, and let's say this represents a person running. Okay, and this one on the y-axis, let's say x-axis, and this is going to represent time in seconds. And let's say this is distance and in seconds. And it's my y-axis. Okay, so can you tell that this person at 0 second was at 0 meters? Meters. At 0 meters at 0 seconds. And then after like 10 seconds, probably the person traveled maybe like 100 meters. Okay, it's a racer. Right? At this point, so it was 0 and 0 here. And over here, it was 10 seconds and 100 meters. Right? And then let's find the slope. Well, the slope, we can use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this time, I'm going to use units all the time just to see what I mean by rate of change. Y2 value, okay, this is first and this is my second. Y2 value was 100 meters. Remember, y value is, the unit is meters. Minus y1 was 0 meters. Over 10 seconds is my x2. Minus 0 seconds. Was 100 meters divided by, 100 meters minus 0 meters? Well, that's 100 meters. And 10 seconds divided by, minus 10 seconds. That's right. 10 seconds minus 0 seconds is 10 seconds. Do you notice how, just to kind of recap, this is also delta y and delta x. Okay, so I can do this, and I can do 100 divided by 10 is 10, and then it's meter divided by second. That's my unit. What kind of unit is meter divided by second? That's a unit of speed. Do you see what we're doing here? By graphing this line, and this graph representing a person running, we found the speed by finding the slope. So basically, the topic of slope is very related to rate of change. So aka learning how to find a slope is learning how to find the rate of change. Okay? So speed is one kind of rate of change, where the rate of change of distance over time. Okay? But we can apply this to any other concepts. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and try some questions in this section to really master the skills that we have learned. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Best wishes.